Hi everyone, welcome to Getting Naked with Happiness. I'm Stephen Lew and I have two very special people with me today, Jade Seah, who will be our co-host, and Rachel Lim, a survivor of dating violence, who you might have read about on the news report titled, "I Thought I Was Going to Die at the Hands of My Boyfriend." Today's episode is about finding out the secrets of resilience and post-traumatic growth. And so we're going to see how Rachel found the strength not only to overcome her abuse, but also how she forgave her abuser and lead a happy life today. Hello, Rachel, and hello, Jade.
Hi.
So Rachel was physically abused by her ex-boyfriend and resulting in facial fractures and bleeding in the brain. And Rachel, can you bring us back to the day of 27th of August 2017, and when you were 25 years old and being bashed out and held captive by your ex-boyfriend? Do you recall how that day happened?
Yeah, okay. So that night, I was out with him. It was an okay night. We had dinner, we went for karaoke after dinner. Then after that, we went to a Thai disco for a short while. After that, we went to another bar. And then we drove home. And the whole time it was fine. I felt like we were actually having a lot of fun. We were laughing throughout the whole night. It was just generally a really, really fun night. We went back to his place, and even right at his door, we were still laughing and playing. It was like we were just in good spirits. Then after that, went back to his room, and it was like late already. My then boyfriend, Clarence, he wanted to have sex, and I didn't want to have sex. I think that started like everything, and he just got really, really angry. And yeah, he started hitting me. So I think when I basically didn't want to continue having sex with him, he just got up and he went to a table and I was like sitting there for a while, and then he just like slammed his hand on the table, and then he started charging at me, and he started like yelling at the top of his voice, like, "Then who you want to have sex with? If you don't want to have sex with me." Then he just started like raining punches in my face, just like keep hitting me on the face. And that was when I realized I had to leave, because this was not the first time it happened, him hitting me. So I just like tried to get up and get my bag and leave the place. But I tried to open the door, and but he grabbed my hair, and I fell back. So he went to the door, and I locked it. Then I went to my bag, and I tried to take my phone out to call the police. He took my phone and he just fling it, and he smashed the whole screen was smashed. After that, he just continued hitting me, strangled me, hit my head against the wall. He was just hitting me nonstop for like hours basically hours. Yeah, and it was bad, because it was a lot of just raining blows on my face, strangulation. Then obviously I tried to cover my face, and my hand here broke because I was trying to shield myself from the blows. So my eye socket here broke. My face here all broke. My nose broke. Yeah, and of course the bleeding in the brain, because he was just strangling me and hitting my head against the wall the whole time. So by the time the police came, the police took some while to actually break into the door, because his father was outside telling the police. At that point, I didn't know, but I've later found out in court that his father told the police that I have a mental problem. So the police were actually standing outside and thinking they didn't know it was a violent case. They thought it was some lady inside who had a mental breakdown or something. So they didn't realize I was actually in danger. So they took their own time, which is not their fault, I guess. They only realized it was something serious when they shouted at me and said "Do you need help?" And I said yes. "Do you need an ambulance?" I said yes. Then I think only after that they barged through his door. At a point of time, I was already lying on the ground. Clarence was strangling me, and he was strangling me on and off. So each time he was strangling me, I could see him, his face was just really angry and just contorted with rage. And then I could feel my breath just I couldn't breathe anymore, and it got to a point where even the pain started to fade off, and I could see my vision slowly dimming. And I just thought, oh, okay, so this is how I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die at the hands of my boyfriend. Yeah, but of course, like he would let go after a while. I think cause outside the police kept knocking. He was still doing this the whole time. Eventually, the police came in. And then it came in. I got up and then I saw like the whole room, like the state of the whole room. Like there was like blood all over. It was like a murder scene. There was like blood on the floor, all over on the side of the walls. Yeah, there was just blood all over. Yeah. So that was what happened that night.
Well, I mean, I cannot imagine, going through that. Just hearing it, I feel, honestly, I feel like physical pain. I just want to like maybe take us back a little bit, like, because you said this is not the first time that this has happened, right? So would parents always be like that? Maybe you can tell us a bit more about the first time that he showed like violent tendencies with you.
The first time he showed violent tendencies with me, it was just like maybe roughly like a month into our relationship, which was like very, very soon. We were having fun, like in his room, like we just like talking and chatting about stuff, and like we were laughing, and then suddenly he started yelling at me. So there was this like total flip, like he just switched like 180 degrees, and then like he started screaming at me. Right, at first I didn't even realize what was going on. I thought is this a joke or what's happening? Because we were actually laughing, right? So he started being angry at me, and he started like asking me about like my past relationships, because he was like really jealous about like I don't know, my past. And then I realized, oh, he is really angry. Like this guy is crazy. The thing is like each time he hit me, it was never about like we were quarreling halfway and then suddenly he got angry and then he lost his temper. It was always like it was fine. Then suddenly he switched. So I would get very confused. Then so suddenly he switched, and then he started like it's almost as if we were having fun, and then suddenly a thought like a jealous thought would enter his head, and then he would just like go all out like crazy, like really raging. Yeah. So then after that he hit me. He hit me like it wasn't like a slap like lightly or what. He threw like a full blown punch like in my face, like he's a big man, right? Like his and he just like used all his strength to just like punch my face. And obviously I was shocked. I tried to get up and leave. When I tried to get up and leave, he like pushed me against the wall and like just strangled me, and like that was how the first time started. Yeah.
And so, I mean, just help me to understand, like, so why do you continue to see him after that? Like, were you not scared, or how do you react after that?
Wow. Okay. So after that first incident, obviously he was very apologetic. I was in shock. Before him, I actually did have like an ex-partner who actually slapped me before, like when he was angry. And after that relationship, I actually told myself, if anyone ever like lay their hands on me, and that's it. Like I'll end it right there and then. But Clarence, I felt like it was different because it was not as if like we were arguing halfway and he lost control of himself and like he hit me. It was very sudden. So I because of that, I think like I excused his behavior. And obviously he was very apologetic. He looked at me with that sort of like really like sad puppy dog eyes and said things like, I know what I done is like it's not excusable. Whatever words I say now is pointless. But obviously I hope like, you give me another chance and we have it good. Which is true. I felt like during normal times I thought it was okay. So I thought this was like an isolated incident. And because he flipped so suddenly, right? I just thought like, wow, this guy, you really have like a mental problem. And if you have a mental problem, maybe you should just go and see like a psychologist or psychiatrist. And I thought, if you have the willingness to go and seek help, maybe there's hope in a relationship. Yeah. So I held on to that hope.
So after it happened, he apologized straight away. Did he flip back straight away, or did some time pass?
No, so that very first time that he hit me, he held me captive in his room until like at night, like 10 p.m. like that. I went back home. Then he apologized like the next day. Yeah. So after that, then it was like okay.
So when he hit you during those moments, right? Which sort of environment were you in, and was he intoxicated?
He drank. Yeah. We were in his room. I think it was also because like he was intoxicated. I would think that okay, it's not you. It must be the alcohol. So that's not the real you. So I kept like giving like excuses to his behavior that like I refused to see that. Obviously, he had a responsibility for his behavior, and you can't blame alcohol. Like so many people drink and like they don't hit people. Like
Okay, so those were the reasons that prevented you leaving that first time, right? Because even though you said that in a previous relationship, you had an ex-partner who slapped you, you told yourself you will not be with anyone who will lay your hands on you. You gave kind of like these few excuses, and you were like, okay, he was probably drunk, and it was a bit like weird and out of character because you just flipped, right? So you went on, I guess, and then there was another time after that, because I mean the August one was really bad, right? And that was when you honestly, Rachel, I think you could have been killed, right? So I think that was really bad. But between the March and the August, were there any other incidents?
yeah, so there was another incident. I think there was a total of like 3 major incidents. The second one was because like the night before, I sort of like told him like I was done with the relationship. I really felt like I didn't want to go on anymore. So I just told him I was done. And throughout the night, like he just kept calling me like over like 80 to 100 times. Like but I was sleeping, so I didn't look at my phone. I just felt very tired and jaded with the whole relationship. The next day, I just went to work. So as I was like going down my house, getting ready to go to work, like he was below at my house. Like he was there, and it was like 8 a.m.
Yeah.
So he was camping outside my house, like waiting for me. So then like he dragged me by the hair into his car. I tried to like put up like a bit of like a struggle, but I just couldn't like he's very strong, and he threw me inside the seat, and like he just like kept punching me and kept like punching me. The funny thing was actually there was like someone who was actually witnessing the whole thing. There was a guy, and I kept screaming at the guy. Like, call the police, call the police. And the guy, I think he was like, he just like stared the whole time, and he didn't do anything.
Wow.
And I was pressing the car, when I was in the car already, right? I was like pressing the car horn, like holding it for like a good like solid 10 to 15 seconds each time I press the horn. And no one helped, which to me is very funny, because like everyone in Singapore loves to whip out their phone camera to video things like all the time. But when like when serious things actually happen and we need like help like that, and people don't do anything.
I think people were probably paralyzed, and maybe there's a bit of a bystander effect.
Yeah.
But okay, so that was bad. I mean, so I'm just going to rewind a little bit and ask, like, you wanted to end the relationship the night before, not because of any of this violent stuff.
I think it was accumulation of like the violent stuff, yes, and like other things as well. Because like sometimes even though he's not violent, he can be verbally and emotionally abusive. But then he will always like do it when he drinks. So I always think like it's alcohol. But even then, like I think I was getting very tired of it. Like I have never been like abused like that by anyone. So I think that was a point where I felt like I was done. Yeah.
Can you share a bit about like the verbal and emotional or mental abuse that he would inflict?
So he will always love to call me like very derogatory terms, like a bitch or slut or whore. It's very standard. It's like it's only like these few things that he'll say like over and over again.
And this is after he drinks, when you're arguing?
Not only when we argue. Sometimes like I think there was this one occasion where I was in office, and then like I didn't reply to his text like maybe within like an hour. He got really angry, and then he started calling me like you're an office slut. You're just there to seduce like people and everything. Yeah, he does things like that lah. Like he's very jealous and very controlling, and he would like come by to my office and like stalk me as well. At a point which I didn't know, because like he couldn't find me, but my colleagues then told me after that. Yeah.
Okay, so that was like so because of that you wanted to end it, you were just done. And then so the next day he came to look for you and drag you to the car, and then he started punching you. And then what happened after that?
So after that he like sort of like dragged me to his place, and he held me captive there. And I think he held me captive there for like a really, really, really long time, like in his room for yeah. So he started hitting me in his room, because this was like in the morning, when it started all the way in the morning. And then I would tell him, okay, like I need to pee, I need to go to the toilet. Then say no, like you pee here, like I don't care. So he refused to let me go out of his room. Yeah. Then he would what he would do is like he took like a bottle of like this big gallon of like apple juice, then with like aloe vera bits, and then like he just pour it all over me. And then he just turned the aircon on and like blast it really cold. And I told him like I'm really cold, can you turn it off? Okay. Then like he allowed me to change out of like dry clothes. Then he'll do the same thing all over again. Like he'll just like pour the apple juice over my head again. Like it's just an attempt to humiliate me. Yeah. It's when he realized that like I can take punches or hits, like obviously he would want to find ways to humiliate me further lah. Like he gets a kick out of it. Yeah.
It's interesting to hear that, Rachel, because I understand that Clarence is a medical doctor, and medical doctors, they have a very high level of cognitive empathy. Okay, what I'm trying to say here is that there are 3 levels of empathy. The first level is cognitive empathy. The second level is emotion empathy, and the third is compassionate empathy. So cognitive empathy means that having the ability to understand how a person feels and how they will react to a certain situation. So cognitive empathy is a part of communication, so we can read each other better. So for a medical doctor, they are very skilled in cognitive empathy because they need to know whether their patients will feel pain if they assess them or whichever. But on the same note, interestingly, a psychopath or a torturer also have a very high form of cognitive empathy. They are very good in reading other people, so that when they administer a certain torture or manipulation, they know that whether the patients or victims can take it or not. Yeah, especially the victims. So in this note, but they do not have emotional empathy. Doesn't make sense. So they know how the patient or victims feel, but they don't feel their pain.
So in this case, it's almost like he deliberately went to the cold aircon apple juice torture, almost like Chinese torture, because like, hitting her physically was just not getting the response that he wanted. Right?
Yeah, exactly. When Clarence was strangling, I'm so sorry to bring this up again, it may be emotional, but I think that you're fine now, is that when he was strangling you in a room and before you pass out or lead to further damage, he actually released to make sure that you are still feeling the pain. I don't know. Yeah, so when he was punching you, hitting you, he knows when you hit your brink before you collapse or you pass out. I don't know.
Yeah, and he only ever like targets the face, and then like he would say like, oh, you think you're very pretty, is it? You're not pretty, lor. So he just knows, like he doesn't hit any part of my body, he just hits my face, because he know that like, maybe my looks is like damaging my looks is the thing that would like actually get to me. Yeah, so he knows.
It's very disturbing to hear that a medical doctor like Clarence, who's been trained to serve the public health, is actually using his knowledge in a way in terms of cognitive empathy. But of course, this is only him, right? Because he has some issues, big issues, and he's using it to cause pain. So I'm so happy. We are so happy for you that now the case is closed. He has met his punishment and serving his sentence, and he cannot be a doctor anymore. I think that's great news.
Actually, he's still on the register with like Singapore Medical Council. So his license is not revoked or even suspended since like, I think I made the first complaint like 3 years ago.
Wait,
So yeah, so if you search, like his name is still on the register.
So that means when he comes out, he technically can still set up like a private practice and be a doctor, a practicing doctor.
So yeah, so on the day that the sentencing was out, actually I called SMC immediately, and SMC just told me that well, if it's like any assurance to you, you should just know that he won't be practicing anytime soon. So hope like they're basically trying to like make me not be so worried that he won't be practicing anytime soon. But I think they completely missed the point. Like
Yeah, I mean, it's even if it's not anytime soon, he's young. He has many, many years to still practice. And as what Stefan said, it's very worrying because when you're a doctor, you're in a position where your patients are quite vulnerable or they are up to your diagnosis and kind of like in your care. And just to know that he can still practice is quite disturbing.
yeah, for someone who consistently violate the rights of like others, I think that his license should be revoked like completely. Yeah.
no, I think on the ethical front, as being a health practitioner, they have to take an oath, right, to be ethical and not to cause any maleficence towards their patients. Of course, in this instances, it's you as in a relationship setting, but it seems to suggest that he is not psychologically stable enough to hold that position because it's causing harm to other people, right?
Yeah.
And especially you say that not just you, but in your past, his past relationships, he has also been hurtful and abusive towards his ex-girlfriends. Yeah, I really hope that SMC can do something about this because this is not something to be taken lightly with.
Yeah.
Okay, so Rachel, in spite of all this, knowing that you didn't want to get hit again, can you help us to understand why you chose to continue to stay in the relationship?
Yeah, I ended up with him again because like I think at the back of my head I was thinking like even though I know like what he's doing to me is really not right, is there really a way out? It felt like if I were really to try to break up with him again, what's gonna happen next? So I thought I just just float along. Yeah.
Because if you broke up with him again, then you were worried that he would react like that again.
Yeah, and the thing is like he has like threatened before to kill me. And I feel like it's not just about my life. Sometimes like I feel like my family's life might be in danger also. I really don't want him to come like to my house like one day and look for me and like I don't know slaughter everyone because like he has said like he's gonna drive like a knife through my heart before. And then he said this over the phone. I will very calmly tell him, oh, but why do you want to kill me? And I say, oh, okay, I just want to kill you. And then he say, okay, but if you kill me, like, you can't have a good life as well. They say, it doesn't matter. I'll kill myself. They say, oh, but why do you want to kill yourself? Like, what about your father, your family? Then I say, oh, it's okay. They'll get insurance. So yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so at that point, he was apologetic the next day.
It's always like after the second day when he hits me. The second day, he's apologetic. To me, I somehow I still felt that like if a person is willing to seek treatment, there might be help. So at that point of time, he still wasn't going to a psychologist. Like he was delaying it. And I basically sort of like gave him an ultimatum. Like if you don't seek help, I don't see like any hope in a relationship. Yeah. So that was when after the second time, he went back to his psychologist or psychiatrist and like sought help. Yeah.
Okay, so and then after that, of course, the last incident happened where the police were involved. Do you think you would have gotten out had the police not been involved and had it not got to the point where honestly you could have died?
I think actually that's a really hard question to answer because obviously he almost killed me, right? Like yet at the point of time, like when I was in the hospital bed, I was still thinking to myself, if he apologized and shows remorse, maybe there's still a hope in the relationship. So I think that's a really hard question to answer. Yeah.
I just want to ask, you mentioned that we were in a relationship prior and your ex-boyfriend slapped you and you told yourself that you will not be in a similar situation again. So when you met this guy and dated him for a few months, when he exhibited the first few signs of violence, what were you thinking? Didn't you go back and thought about the earlier event? What kept you on?
I think for Clarence, back then I really thought that the relationship was very different. And it is actually a very different relationship. I mean, apart from like him being violent, like I just felt a lot of like chemistry with him that I felt with like no one else before. The bond between us, I thought it was really, really strong. I was very attracted to him, and I just felt like this chemistry that I felt with like no one else before. So obviously in my mind, I thought like, oh wow, he's my soulmate. If it's not him, then who is it gonna be? Because like no one is ever gonna be like that. Yeah, and even him in court, as the news has reported, he also said that like when things were okay, he was extremely happy. So it was like on both ends, I guess. Like we really thought that like we were happy with each other very much. Yeah.
Was the chemistry also a byproduct of the trauma that you went through?
I'm not sure, but I think one of the reason that bonded us, I guess, I felt that I understood his pain and he understood my pain. I felt like I could not date like so-called like a normal guy who doesn't understand like the depths of like my pain. Yeah. So I guess so. Yeah.
No, it seems to suggest that there are many different forms of relationships, right? And there's one form of relationship, it's called therapeutic relationship, meaning that two of them, they have big issues in their lives that need to be resolved, and they attract each other and they bring out the worst of each other. I'm not saying that it's supposed to be that way, but they bond with each other in a very intimate. They always report that they have deep chemistry, but at the very same vein is because that when they are very high and very low, it also bounded in the language of trauma. Yeah, but of course, what you went through was really excruciating.
I think I want to just move to see, just to help other people who may be going through the same situation. I think no person actually wants to get hit, right? But so many people, there's a lot of misconception that people who are victims of abuse are very weak or very just not capable people, right? I think that is really, really a misconception. But there may be many others who may be feeling as trapped as you are in a current relationship cycle where maybe they're in the good part now and they're like, yeah, this person's really not very good, but I'm still here. So I want to know, like, what the final time you said that if he had probably apologized and seemed really remorseful about it, you would still perhaps have taken him back. What made you stop? Was it just that he didn't try to come back?
He didn't try to come back. Yes, I think that's one of the reason. And slowly like that enforced like a time period apart made me see clearly for who he is lah. And I think also like a friend was beside me and like he kept questioning like why is it that like I think that he is the one. As I thought like actually what good things did he really do for me? Because I feel like if I were really to sit down and think of like nice caring things that he had done for me, right, I feel like there's actually none. Like he's just someone that like is nice to like we play around like kids. I think that's all, but he's not capable of being really nice and caring. And I think that's when I realized like, oh, he actually hasn't done anything really nice and caring.
It's kind of like what Stephen said about like perhaps there was that chemistry, so-called, and that connection that you guys connected on a certain level, perhaps by a shared trauma or something that both of you have gone through. Stefan, just want to know, like, from an expert point of view, right, for others who may be going through this, then, in order to get out, what is the first step? Because I'm just taking on the fact that Rachel said that that sort of, okay, firstly, he didn't try to come back, right, but that's not something that we would have control over. But the second point is, you said there was an enforced period of separation. And during this time, it was during this time that you managed to think it through and think like, okay, maybe this is really not right for you. So Stefan, like, yeah, from an expert point of view, would you recommend this to someone who's going through something like this, like an enforced period of separation?
Yes, definitely. First and foremost, I think in all types of abuse, because for Rachel's case is a bit special. It was a series of abuse from not just psychological, but also physical.
Yeah.
But in many types of abuse, it may not result to physical abuse. It could be also psychological. So it could be from intimidation, control, and different sorts of manipulation. So to that, I guess the first part would be having the awareness to review the relationship from non-biased way. But of course, sometimes when they are so involved in the relationship, they may be blinded, wanting the best, thinking that the guy or the other person will change. So I think the first part is what you said, Jade, is having a break. A mental break is really important, not just a time break, because of course the time will allow the person to ask reflective questions, and then also take the opportunity to ask themselves that, is this what they really want? Maybe a good question would be, is this person, do I want to have children with this person, this partner? Is this the quality of a partner that I want to raise my children up with? Or you can ask a close friend, maybe who doesn't know the other party, and share the behavior patterns. And I think the close friend would be able to share insights and go to help the person to realize this. I think these are the few indicators that should go through, or they can go through first.
Rachel, you mentioned that during this enforced period of separation, you talked to a friend. Prior to that, in the other incidents, do you mention it to anyone? Do you talk about the abuse?
Yeah, but I think it's a really tricky thing, like talking about this with like loved ones, because obviously we know that what we are going through is not right, but we give excuses, like, because we are actually protecting our abuser, because like we love our abuser, we want to be with him. I did share it with like friends, and I think for some friends they were very angry, and they straight out said, like, like, you shouldn't be with someone like that. And I think immediately I felt very offended. I was thinking, like, if you are really my friend, you understand why I would want to be with him. So I just, yeah. So I thought, like, then next time I just shouldn't share anything with you, because like you clearly don't understand what. So I think it's a really tricky thing, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of justification for the abuser.
What would be a better way for a friend to respond?
I felt like okay, for those friends that like continued to share things with, they to me they were very non-judgmental, because maybe like they know me well enough to know that if they were to say anything, like, I wouldn't respond well. So I think they just listen, but I think listening sometimes is not enough. So I feel like as friends, and someone you love is going through this, yes, listen, be non-judgmental. Maybe you have to let like your friend know that whatever decision you make, that whatever decision your friend makes, like you stay by your friend's side. And I think the best way is actually to just ask questions, like I think like what Stephen said, because the person going through the violence have to come up with like the answers themselves. It shouldn't come from like an external like party. Yeah, just ask the right questions. Yeah, maybe things like, do you really think that you would find no one else better? You really think that you will not be attracted to anyone? I don't know. Yeah, just asking the right questions. Yeah.
Sometimes it's also very difficult, right? When a close friend at the side seeing their friends suffer, and there's a part of protectionism that they want to step forward and help their friend.
Yes.
Yeah, and especially if the person is in a long-term abusive relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I asked for myself as well, on the point of view of a friend who has listened to another friend share a story like that. Like, I think we all would like to know how to better respond. You know, you mentioned that when you were with Clarence, you felt like you guys had a connection that you hadn't found with someone else. And of course, on top of that, you were very attracted to him and all of that. Could you share with us maybe some of the sort of stories or the narratives you were telling yourself when you were in that relationship with him?
I thought like he was really my soulmate because I think maybe because before that my previous relationships were just very like, I don't know if like mediocre is the word to say it, but like, yeah, with Clarence, like he was intelligent. And so I think for the first time in my life, I felt like I did not have to simplify myself for my partner to understand. So I could just like be who I am. I don't have to simplify the way like I think or my speech or my language like to him, because like Clarence obviously understood all of that. He could engage on like my level. I think previously when my previous relationship, it was always like I felt like my partners have to catch up with me because they weren't reading the things that I was reading. With Clarence, it was not. I felt like we had also like an intellectual chemistry. If he doesn't know the things that I'm talking about, like he would actually make an effort to read up about it. And I thought that was like that was great, so that at least we have something in common. We can discuss things. Yeah, and I think also other than that, like I think we were just both very playful. And I think it was like a quality that I cherish very much. So obviously I thought like he's my soulmate lah. Yeah, I thought like there could be no one else like him because because my previous relationships it was just very different in quality. Like yeah, with Clarence I was fully myself. Yeah, I did not have to hide like any part of myself. I was just like completely the way I am. Yeah.
Stephen, what would you say to someone who is maybe in a relationship now, currently, where they maybe feel a bit stuck or they share similar thoughts to Rachel? Like I said, no one ever wants to get hit, okay, or even to be abused emotionally or mentally. But sometimes we feel like we have to stay because we may never have this sort of connection with anyone else. This person could be our soulmate. How would you, from a psychological point of view, try to change that narrative? Can we change our own narrative?
Okay, I think this is really quite tricky because if a person believes that like their abusive partner is their soulmate, it's really like a very deep set belief. I think what I would actually say to them is that that there are really other people out there who you would be more attracted to, but obviously you won't know because you just like cling to this person who's like not good for you lah. Yeah, there would be other people who like understand you also. And the thing is like if you think that your abuser truly understands you, why would he hit you? It doesn't make sense. What? Like if your abuser really understands you, can resonate with you, your abuser wouldn't hit you, and your abuser would be kind towards you. Yeah, and I think if you think that you can change your abuser like through kindness or like patience or I don't know, just like hoping for the best, then why does he hit you again? It won't happen again. What? So changing someone is not within your capacity. Even if like you're in a helping profession or you're a very kind person, it's not within your capacity, unfortunately. Yeah.
When people in love, they think it's magic and they have all the high moments, right? And so when they all have all the high moments, they're pumped with all the happy hormones and chemicals. And they think that this is the relationship, this will be the partner. And so even though the whole relationship, it could be 1 minute of happiness, but 59 minutes of pain, sometimes they will still look at 1 minute of happiness. So they're willing to tolerate. If a couple is in a long-term abusive relationship, they may justify because they have invested so much time, resources, and efforts in this person to make it work. And sometimes they are attached to their narratives that maybe I can't find a better person out there because this is the best person I can ever get. And they go into this self-imprisonment that maybe I am not as good because the other person wear them down and think that they are not as good. So their self-esteem is being affected, and therefore their narratives may also affect their perception. So the biggest thing I would say would be, number one, is to promote boundaries first, to take some time out and start to put in small little steps of, hey, I need my me time, my personal space, so that when this happens, they can start thinking and do more self-reflection. And then also go online and look for resources. I think there are a lot of groups that you can connect with, like communities or support group. Of course, I would highly recommend to see a therapist or counselor. End of the day, seeing a professional will give you a very level-headed or neutral stance. Sometimes when you see friends or family members, they don't really understand the whole picture, or they have their own personal issues, and they could be quite opinionated, but may not necessarily help you, right? So I guess that these two things would be great. Spend some time, create your own boundaries, some time to yourself, a me time, and invest into resources that will give you access to more neutral advices or opinions, like seeing a therapist or go online. Yeah, these are these immediate things that I will recommend. And if I could just add one more point is, when a person is stuck in a relationship like this, they go through this thing called a trauma continuum, meaning to say that any traumatic events, right, make them glued to the trauma. It's just like watching a drama series, that there's a lot of highs and a lot of lows. And it's just like there's rainbow after the rainy storm, right? They like that cycle, and they do not know that they are in that cycle. Yeah, and therefore the victim will always justify that this is okay, that somebody who he or she will change.
So the point is, we still have to get ourselves out of that cycle.
Yeah.
Rachel, what do you do to stay resilient? Or what helped you really heal from that whole episode? It's really, really very traumatic, and thanks for sharing it with us in such detail too.
I think it was actually quite hard because I think after the final incident and I sort of like was no longer with Clarence, I think I was like a bit depressed for a while. It was hard. Okay. Obviously, like I have like supportive like friends, family, even my company back then. I had like very close co-workers, so I think that helped. But even still, I was very depressed. Not only because like I was being injured physically. I think I felt like my whole reality had shattered. Because like the one that I thought like was my soulmate is actually someone who actually doesn't care for me or doesn't love me. So that reality was actually very it was a bit too much for me to bear. So I was depressed for a bit. I actually did think of like just like ending my life. So it was quite bad for a while. I think what gave me hope was like I was just tell myself, okay, just like go through another day, hang on there for another day. So I just hang on for like 1 day, 2 day, 3 day. Over time, like I think it just gets better. Like if you keep like giving yourself like hope for another day. So you just like with time, you just realize that actually life is not that bad. It's just that like you're just with an asshole. That's why life is bad. Yeah.
I personally do find this, it's very cliche, right? Because people will say, in fact, actually, a lot of older people, like my grandmother used to say, like, just take it 1 day at a time. But it really does help. I mean, like, I would say, like, I've not been in the same situation as you, but like going through a bad situation, even like grieving or going through like a breakup, right? It really does help to take it 1 day at a time. Like you just get through this day and try to get through it as best you can. Right? Then the day becomes a week, and the week becomes a month, and then it becomes a year. And I think that really does help, even though it sounds very cliche to say, just get through the day.
Yeah.
How would you advise someone who is also stuck in an abusive relationship?
I think I would just advise them to really think for themselves. I think everyone on a certain level know that like they don't deserve abuse, but because of like their attraction towards like their abuser, they would excuse the behavior. I just hope that they would know for themselves that there can be better options out there, and maybe other people that would actually get them just as well, people that they would just be attracted to, but they need to give themselves like the opportunity to see for themselves that there can be such people out there. Yeah. And also trying to enforce like boundaries, which is difficult because in the first place, if we are with abuser, we clearly lack like boundaries. Yeah, we don't know how to have boundaries. Yeah. So I really don't know. I feel like because even for me at a point of time, like I was also seeing a psychologist, but I think I was like so stubborn, like nothing anyone say could like have like help me. I think what would maybe have like helped me at a point of time was that like knowing that my situation was not unique, because I thought my situation was very, very unique. I thought it was just like me going through such things. I didn't know it was like a totally I didn't know it was like a totally not unique situation. Like, you know, in my head, like in the past, I always thought that like when I read like stories of like people getting abused, this was before like my own incident. I always thought like these women are like ridiculous. Like, why would they stay in a relationship if someone like hits them? I always thought like they are not very smart lah. They are like just very not like, yeah, I thought like maybe they would want to be with the guy for money, or they're just like people who are just not very capable. And I didn't have like empathy for like these women because I just thought like it was like ridiculous. I couldn't envision myself like being with like a guy who like just like beats the hell out of me. And then it happened to me. Yeah, then after that I went to a group counselling at PAVE Singapore. And initially I still didn't want to go, but the social worker like kept calling me. Then I attended like from the second session forth. Before that, I was also thinking like I just didn't want to go down to a group with like other women who let like their boyfriend beat them, because like they surely must be not very smart and not very capable. And I just felt like I am not like that. But when I went down, I realized, oh, that's not the case. Like these women, like they are smart, they're capable, they're pretty, they earn their own money. There was one of the victims was a doctor, the other was a lawyer. So it could happen to like anyone. Yeah, so I guess like to victims going through this, like know that you're not alone. Yeah, and like educate yourself. Yeah.
You know, there are many thoughts about being in an abusive relationship. They tend to choose a path of convenience, right? Because I'm being with this person for such a long period of time, and I know this person inside out, and this person know me inside out. Might as well I could just do something. Either I change myself, or I can try to change the person. But in actual fact, there are only three possibilities, right? Number one, changing oneself, or changing the other person, or changing the situation. And why I'm saying this is because when I work with my clients who are in abusive relationships, many of the time they come forward because they want to improve the relationships. And of course, the other partner will not come for therapy, but they will just see a therapist on their own. And through the event, then we found out that they are in an abusive relationship. And so by seeing a therapist or psychologist or counselor, you help to gain more clarity and more resources. You know, even though you may not have it exactly at the point of time, but when you go to a certain situation that you need to move off, you have these resources to rebuild yourself. And that is really important.
Yeah.
And so what is the biggest difference between Rachel today and the Rachel before the event?
Wow. So I think me now, I feel like I have like a much lower tolerance for nonsense. I feel like it's very easy for me to walk away from like people who don't serve me well anymore. Not to say like you need to treat me like very well or what, but like I just feel like my boundaries are much better. Like for example, maybe if I see friends who are clearly disrespectful, like it's just very easy for me to walk away from the friendship, rather than just like stay in friendship because like their company is familiar or what. I also think that like in the past I always thought that like everyone has a capacity to become better. Everyone has like every single person on earth, their nature is goodness and kindness. But I'm a little more cynical now, or maybe I wouldn't say cynical, but more realistic now. It's really not the case. Some people are just not really good and kind, and it might be like a hard truth for like idealists to accept this, because idealists all want to believe that everyone is kind, good natured, everyone has like a good heart, but maybe through like events in life, these people become a bit like hardened or not very nice. But the truth is like some people are really just not very nice, and that is their nature. And when people show you their true colors for the first time, you got to believe it. You should stop trying to like give your own narrative of what you think that person is, but let the person's actions like show you who they really are. Yeah.
And if you have become more cynical, right, does it mean that your level of happiness has been affected or optimism has been affected?
I actually don't think so, because I feel like I'm just able to see things more clearly for what it is. And when I accept like reality on reality's terms, like it's just very easy for me to walk away. And I just feel like maybe this situation or this social setting is just not really good for me, or this person is not really good for me, and it's fine for me. Like I just like accept it. I know that there are better things in store for me if I could just like know what I really deserve. Yeah.
Well, in an act of course, forgiveness and healing, I'd like to ask this question. If Clarence is here today, what will you say to him?
Honestly, I don't think I've got really anything to say to him. Yeah. There's really not much to say to him, because like actually most of the time like, I don't really think about him anymore. I think about people who are still going through like situations that I've been before. I focus my energy and attention on that. I think about the things that we can do as a community to help people to raise awareness. And I think why I'm able to like forgive like someone who has like totally like abused me so badly. I just knowing him, I just feel like it's hard for such a person to be happy, because he's not just like that towards me. Like he's like that to a lot of other people also. He's a very entitled person, and he never takes like accept blame for his actions. He always blames others. So knowing such a person, like they will always be unhappy. And I feel like actually that's like enough punishment for his lifetime, because like they always blame someone else, blame the family, blame society, everyone except for themselves. And so such a person, like I feel like deserve our pity actually. Yeah.
So Rachel, the title of this podcast is Getting Naked with Happiness, and you have so-called getting naked emotionally, so to speak, and about your journey and current state. So the next question to you would be, are you happy today despite everything you have experienced?
Yeah, strangely, I feel like I have been the happiest I've ever been in my entire life. I just see that like, okay, in some very like twisted way, I saw that what happened to me is actually a very big lesson to wake me up. And so I'm grateful for what has happened. Because if that did not happen, I might still be stuck in a lot of my like faulty thinking processes. So I think I'm very happy. And because like after the incident, I learned how to have boundaries. I learned to see people a bit clearer for who they are. So I think the partner that I'm with now is someone who's like really, really good for me also. Yeah, I learned to be able to like discern good qualities in a person. Yeah. And yeah, I actually think I'm really happy right now.
Thank you, Rachel, for being so brave and to come out to share your story, because we know that you have went through a lot, especially not during the event, even after the event. And we're so very happy for you that the case has come to a closure. And I hope that moving forward, your life will become even more positive than before. And so those who are listening, you have been listening to Getting Naked with Happiness. I'm Stephen Lew and my co-host Jade Seah, and of course our guest Rachel Lim. And we have if you have any questions for us, please leave us a note or comments or question on Getting Naked with Happiness. And I look forward to hear your questions if you have. So thank you, Rachel, for being here today. And thank you, Jade.
Thanks, Rachel. Thanks, Stefan.
Thank you. See you.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.